And if you somehow get a job by not being excellent, you will not have a job within 6 months. So,
can you please repeat this again, because I did not catch it? So the work culture is
you will be the absolute best of the best.
Okay.
Now, this is for the high-end design team that's designing the next car, designing the next heat pump, designing the next seatbelt system, designing the next autopilot. Like they really are the best. I will give you an example that actually includes Elon. One person, a friend of mine, was trying to hire a mechanical engineer in the corporate office. The kid went to a great school, but not Stanford or Caltech or MIT, but he was super smart. He went through 2 levels. He interviewed with 7 people. Every single person gave him the heads up. He was a great mechanical engineer, awesome grades, done a bunch of his own projects. He'd worked on a solar race car project, with a team in college. So this resume, because Elon takes the design team very seriously, the resume goes in front of Elon, and Elon goes, "Oh, he was on the solar race car team. Did their team win?" And he goes, "No, they came in second." He goes, "Not hiring them. We don't hire losers."
Oh my God.
Now, that is, of course, patently ridiculous. I am not completely disagree with that point of view. Completely disagree. But
Yeah.
that's sort of the culture. Now, let's talk about that's the cream of the crop for design. But let's be real here, okay? Let's say you're now at the Gigafactory in Nevada. Yeah, if I want a production engineer, I need a really good production engineer. If I need a quality engineer, I need a really good quality engineer. But what I really need in production are good people. You don't have to be the smartest person. You do have to be a person who cares, right? There is a distinct difference. You can achieve a lot in your life by passion. Not everybody is going to be the smartest person in the room. And quite frankly, if you're working in a production setting, do you really want to hire crazy far out thinkers? No, you want people who are good people, who are honest, who know how to do a hard day's work, who can do something consistently, who will speak up when they see a problem, but who are also good humans at communicating, so that if I'm angry at you for something, I don't come and scream at you. I come and have a discussion with you and say, "Hi, I'm Mohamed. I'm a little angry with you because of this." And then you say, "Oh, I'm really sorry, but this is what I intended." "Oh, my mistake." You can have the relationships count.
Yeah.
So when you're hiring, so there's the corporate high-end engineers, but then there's the reality of having a 60,000 person company or whatever they're at. And the tendency is for someone to say, "Oh, we don't need as high a quality of a person for a manufacturing environment." And I think that is a huge mistake. You need just as high quality of a person. You don't necessarily need cutting edge skill set. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would expect this in the European culture, but I did hear before about the Tesla culture specifically, and I totally agree with you that even there is a lot of teams in football. I'm not a football fan, but I have seen this repeatedly happen, that when they try to gather a lot of stars at the same table in the same team, they never win. Because it's not about having the best of the best. It's maybe now it's a matter that there is a proven record of Tesla specifically in the market. So, but this proven record, because we have big players getting into this field now and focusing directly on it. Speaking on the German manufacturers, Mercedes is getting full electrical, BMW is doing this, Volkswagen is doing this, and those are companies who have hundreds of years of manufacturing culture and team working. So it's just a ramping up issue, and then you will see the difference of the culture. And to be honest, I'm a fan more of what you have said, that a person who's knowing how to deal with others, a person who understands the fundamentals. Of course, perfectly, he will be a person who knows as well something about the industry he works in, is much worth than having the best graduate out of you graduated from MIT yourself, so you know how it works in big
Yeah,
universities.
and I thought I was smart, and in hindsight, I knew nothing.
That's correct, but
If I could go back in time and talk to my cocky, arrogant, all-knowing self, I would smack myself upside the head and say, "Shut up, listen, and watch how things actually happen, and learn how to be a better person." That's what I would tell myself.
Yeah, I guess this is what happens by every human being who gets really wise by time, huh? It's the building and process, but I mean, you gave us the key of qualities which you are searching for, which can be applicable to all the people who are listening to us, who wants to build a career out of it. So the main issues which we can agree on is that, because a lot of people tell me personally that they want to do maybe a PhD, but he did not graduate with high marks. I personally did not graduate with excellence I graduated from Egypt, my bachelor, but it doesn't really make a big difference that you had A plus or excellent or it. This is not the main issue. The main issue is that what you can do, and as you mentioned, are you able to emphasize the idea of specialization? Because this is the second main point I get out of your points you mentioned, that you need to specialize in this current world which we are living in. To build a career, you cannot look around everything. You need to be very specific and really get deep, very deep inside. But this is maybe applicable in industrial countries or places like, for example, Germany, Japan, US, and. But unfortunately, in other places where there is no R&D, what is your advice for people who really working? And I have worked in Egypt myself, for example, and there it's rarely to have R&D. It's like, I would not say impossible because there is an R&D, but it's very rare. So it's mainly sales, service, and so on.
Well, but humans are still here. I mean, define R&D. Okay, maybe there's not drug delivery R&D and battery R&D. I'm taking this away from the battery space. But necessity, as the saying goes, and I'm sure there's an Arabic corollary that was invented before this one. Necessity is the mother of invention. Is the English phrase. I'm sure there's an Arabic corollary to that. And you can't tell me. I mean, I've been through all over this world. I've been in 50 different countries, and I've been in the Middle East. I just went to Jordan this last. Oh, love Jordan 5 times. Amazing. Love it. But you get to some of these areas, and the way that people have taken what they have and built a system that works, that's invention, right? Now it's not the same. You're limited by your resources, certainly, and so the type of invention you're doing might be more mechanical or building science, or agriculture invention. But there's still, humans are still inventive. Well, I agree with you that from an engineering standpoint, there's certainly not as much. I thought there was a fair amount in Morocco, though. Yes, I mean that's sort of more North Africa than Middle East per se. But if someone were saying, I want to get into the lithium-ion battery industry, I would then, my initial thinking would be, well, first, become good at something, right? If you're an academic, I think you have 2 routes. One would be to become really skilled in a particular area of expertise, and then unfortunately look at one of these other plants that's being set up somewhere else. That does not bring that knowledge to the Middle East, though. That is a problem, right? The other approach is to not start at the cell level, but start more at the module and pack and electrification level. So that's where you're talking about circuit design for a safe battery pack, assembly of cells with cooling, and like it's a decent example. Like out of Taiwan, that company Gogoro, who does these little battery pack e-bikes and e-motorcycles. Right now, they're not building cells; they're buying cells. They're not making their own cells. They did design their own packs, but they also designed their own chargers and their own charging electronics, and they've got quite the little business model. And there's been a bunch of copycats on that, including in India, starting to ramp up on this. And India has had, if people have seen it in the news, a whole bunch of problems because they've been bringing in electric bikes and electric motorcycles that are not made well, probably bad charging circuitry. It's probably less the cells and more the charging circuitry. And they've had some fires and people have died. It's been really bad. The other problem is the ambient, the standard temperature in India is not the standard temperature in Asia. And it's not the standard temperature in North America. And a lot of people cells do have an upper temperature limit. And so your temperature control and temperature monitoring needs to be better in hotter environments. And so India actually has a lot of corollaries with the Middle East.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, it's pretty clear that the Middle East, from an economic standpoint, could easily, like China and like India, really take a leap forward with small electric vehicles. I mean, maybe there's some people here who will start the next Tesla, and that's awesome to start the next Tesla in the Middle East. But you could also start with, you know what, I'm going to import electric scooters and build the architecture around that, the business architecture. And then we'll build our own battery packs for those scooters that meet the open standard for those scooters. And then we'll start building our own scooters, that take those battery packs, and we'll build this ecosystem. And I'm making this up as I go. And you and I, before with this call had started, I mean, there is a lot of good that can be done in that area, and we talked about, and let's not get political, but I'll bring it up anyway. Violating my own rules. I mean, Palestine could do well to not have to import oil for people to get around and do their work, and also be able to use that scooter pack charged off of solar panels to drive lights at night when power gets cut, right? I mean, there is a freedom there that is powerful. I did hear an interesting quote in a podcast I was listening to the other day, though, when somebody was, it was a woman who was doing electrification projects in Africa, and she said that one of the village chiefs said to her, "Today we spend our money on batteries to give us light. Before, we spent our money on kerosene to give us light, but either way, they're still taking our money." And it was an interesting perspective, because I think this is where you're going with this. How do you keep the money local? Right? I mean, we can all agree that EVs are better than gas cars. Sure, why not? Right? But there's that urge to get local industry. It's not just who's making money off of it, but how do we create a culture and an economy that's self-sustaining? Keep the money local. I mean, at least when you buy batteries and some solar panels, even if you didn't make the batteries and the solar panels, now you can at least not get charged for gasoline and kerosene all the time. But she was right. You're still giving somebody else your money.
That's correctly. That's totally. And I would like to get back to the point of India, because you have raised a very interesting point, which we did just have it in the last seminar. So actually, the 2 points, the one related to Palestine and one related to India. But let's comment on the Palestine first. You have given a very good example of people living with a very limited type of resources, and still they are able to produce energy, and they're surrounded from everywhere. So there's no excuse. And actually, they are heroes to do this, from my point of perspective. And the second, India is really people are saying, we had a discussion last week about some projects going, namely in Egypt, and the students were saying, why we don't do this? The people are doing this in India. And my comment was that you have said this because you don't know what is happening there. They have just seen that there is a rise of use of EVs and so on. But by this time, I did not share. I just Googled the news. Look, EV fire rises in India, and there is a restricted policy. India EVs play a role over government. There's a lot of things that happen in India which we have to learn from. And as you mentioned, really, India is very near to the Middle East as a culture and as an environment as well. But people are just selling out they are, maybe they are not aware, and this is part of this work to make them aware, or maybe they are kind of taking for granted that the problem will solve itself. But what is happening on ground is that there is, whenever you play around with something like a lithium-ion battery, which has a lot of energy inside it, then you will really, if you don't treat it in a correct way, you will run into the same problems. And this is what we see in countries, a lot of countries in the Middle East happening, that a lot of do-it-yourself batteries, self-made things, things which we call under the table made and so on, without any controlled quality, things getting cells. And you mentioned the point related to getting cells into modules. That's why I shared this graph here. So I guess you mentioned, okay, after getting a cell, we have to still, there are many steps you have to master. And as you mentioned, each step we can spend maybe days just talking about it. And people think that it's easy because I have the cell, so I can go from cell to module. So today we have learned that cell manufacturing challenges, but still there are a lot of manufacturing from a cell to module. I guess we can do it then in the next seminar or something, because it will take a lot of time. But this is the main messages here which we want to deliver, and I'm very happy that you have highlighted this. So I totally agree to your point of view, and still there is a potential. We are not saying that things are closed or it's impossible, but from my perspective, people have to know what they are getting themselves through, especially investors and technical people. It's not doing this and having a battery manufacturing industry.
Right. Well, I mean, and there are other places. Remember, we just talked about cell manufacturing. Then you're talking about module and pack, which could be just module if it's an e-bike or an e-scooter or or a bicycle conversion with electric to get people and to go 50 kilometers to get to town. Or maybe it's and that same battery pack can take in solar power, and the power electronics are designed to be safe by varying voltage inputs. But there's also the other end of it, which is the raw materials. I mean, it doesn't take too much Googling to figure out that there are not enough lithium mines, not enough cobalt mines, not enough, now these things take lots of time, lots of money. I mean, we're talking 5 years, $1 billion kind of thing. But, the geography of the Middle East really lends itself towards a lot of that. Like, for instance, I know people had said that Afghanistan was the Saudi Arabia of lithium, right? Now, I don't know if that's true or not. And obviously, doing business in Afghanistan might be a little difficult right now. Well, certainly for somebody like me, but there is cobalt in Afghanistan. There's tons of lithium because that type of environment. Where's lithium? Bolivia, dry environment. Western United States, dry environment. Australia, dry environment. I will bet you there is lithium all over the Middle East. I'll bet you the Middle East is the lithium. I'll bet Saudi Arabia is the lithium of Saudi Arabia, right? I mean, it's almost comical. It's probably also there. And so from a mining and metallurgy standpoint, Middle East is probably sitting on a pot of gold. It's just nobody's thought of it that way. Instead of drilling the oil, and you need to mine responsibly, and mines aren't exactly wonderful places, but but it has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would be shocked if Morocco didn't have mineral resources like crazy. I would be completely blown away. I spent time in Morocco, and just the very geography, there's no way that there's not huge mining resources there.
Yeah, it's just about exploding. I guess the opportunities are there, and but there are some barriers as well. So I believe, from what I have seen, is that people still take things for granted. But as you mentioned, it could be that we are sitting on treasures and we never know it. I remember Turkey just announced that they have found a big stock of lithium-ion battery materials, but I guess this is as well a topic by itself. So, but still we can explore the opportunities, and we can hopefully. I would like to take a commitment from you to have a follow-up seminar where we
Sure.
can, because I guess we are now about 3 hours. I don't want to to push a lot on this. So this time probably we will not be able to have a lot of discussion about the post-sell things, like having a module, a pack, and a system level. And as well, we will leave the audience to digest the information which we did share about cell manufacturing and come up with any questions. And the career part as well was very interesting. So if you have any final comments, please give it to us, or otherwise. But before the final comments, we just need commitment of the next seminar. This is very important.
Sure.
Sure. Okay.
I'm happy.
There is one question as well in the background, just for the info.
Okay. Do you know what the question is? Because they have to ask.
I don't know it, and actually he just raised his hand, but I cannot. Ali, I cannot unmute you. I guess you have a problem in your settings. So please, you can write the question in the chat. Okay. Here it is.
First of all, I would like to give you a special thanks for this interesting meeting. Really, I feel phenomenal after this worthly information. The question that, as you know, I'm studying renewable energy engineering. I'm originally from Palestine, and I'm asking you if you can help me how to get a special training in Germany. This is my dream, but needed fully funded opportunities at next summer.
Is specifically in Germany, or in general, you mean the opportunities of a fully funded programs?
Especially in Germany.
Okay. I guess you can give.
So I think it depends. So there are certainly, like, I can speak for, I don't work there anymore, but for, you know, Northvolt in Sweden, you know, their policy was generally like this, because they're a startup, right? I mean, they're big, but they're a startup. They were certainly looking for great engineers. For students who wanted to do a summer internship, what they would not do is pay for travel, but there was a stipend once you got there, and they would find housing for you and get you paid, you know, a little bit as a student. If you are finishing up your degree and are looking for a career, then that drops you into the more standard application process. And if you have, like, for instance, for various, you know, energy applications, even if you were doing, you know, wind and solar, but you wanted to go into batteries, again, if your engineering fundamentals are strong, then that's fine. It shouldn't restrict you to wind and solar. In which case, you know, you've got to go peruse the website of open positions, of which there are a lot at various companies, and start applying. Also, use LinkedIn. Find out if there's anyone else that you know, or that you know who's there, to help get your resume floated to the top. A lot of times you don't hear from companies just because they get 1,000 resumes for something. But I know Northvolt, for instance, has, I mean, I think they have 63 different nationalities working there in Sweden. Sweden's a little cold, colder than Germany, sorry. They have, I think, 60 some nationalities, people from all over the Middle East, from India, from Asia, from the US. And they don't care where you're from. They want good engineers. They want good people. They want good manufacturing associates. You don't even have to be an engineer. You could be a machine operator, and then learn the trade and work your way up. If you were willing to, God save you, move to Skellefteå, Sweden, which is northern Sweden, which is really cold.
Yeah.
They are actively looking for good, smart, eager operators. It's not a glorious position, but then in a year or two, you've learned about, let's say you're in formation and aging. Now you know a lot about formation and aging. Now you can become a shift lead of formation and aging. And, it's a long road to work your way up. I'm not going to lie to you. But I mean, I don't have any handouts, but the potential is out there.
Really, I am very inspired to learn more about wind energy modeling for multi-rotor systems.
Okay, I can give you advice on this because I studied renewable energy masters. Actually, north of Germany and Denmark is the right place for this. But I would recommend that you can easily, as Ken mentioned, he gave a general career advice. Look up LinkedIn, look up the right people, and look up the companies who are working in your field, whether it's batteries, renewable energy, anything. And there is one thing which I add to Ken advice, and this is maybe will be the last comment which we have because of the time, that do not be shy that you are coming from the Middle East or Palestine or whatever to apply. Just have the courage to apply and say, okay, what do I have different from the people there? This is really what is missing from people coming from this area, because I'm coming from this area. Just apply, and you have only two options, whether to fail or to succeed. But if you do not apply, you have only one option, that you are failing already. So it's the same result. So this is really what makes people afraid. They think, okay, I want to play it safe. If I apply, they will never get me. Their name is too big, or. This is not how life works. Really, this is not how really things work in reality. Based on my small experience, and Ken can emphasize this totally, and this will be our closing point, and we can discuss more in the next seminar for sure.
Yes, I applied before to the Sandiana National Renewable Energy Laboratory, but because of COVID-19, this meetings was cancelled and beginning line.
Yeah, just apply again. There are a lot of things can happen. It's not the issue. So this is the main message here.
Yeah, COVID was a complete disaster for everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so I would like to stop here, Kim, because
the earthquake.
Yeah, it did affect everyone. But I would like to, at the end, really thank Kim very much for this complete 3 hours of sharing the battery fundamentals, or 2.5 hours maybe. This is really, really a very appreciated time. I guess people who will work in the future in the battery industry, they will get back to this recording and really look for it again and again to understand the basics of cell manufacturing. And I really learned a lot and take a lot of notes, because cell manufacturing is not a part of my deep specialization. So I did really learn a lot today. And I would really thank you for all the tips which you gave us about the career things. And as we mentioned, we continue in the next seminar, hopefully soon.
Great. Thanks for having me. It's an honor.
So I would hand to Ala from Egypt Scholars to close the session, if he's still alive, because we always take a lot of time and those people are not still alive. But Ala, are you still here? I guess not. Yes. No. He's still with us. Yeah, he's sending me in the chat. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so on behalf of Egypt Scholars as well, I have to thank you as well for the time, and hopefully we arrange the next seminar soon. So thanks everyone, and have a great time for you.
Awesome.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
day for you and night for all of us.
All right.
Okay, thanks a lot.
You bet. Shukran. Bye.
Bye bye.